Dallas, Texas. We're live with our new guests, Transition.com, GlenNiece and Dennis. And tell us what Transition.com does.
Well, Chuck, Transition Networks is a data network integration products company. So we manufacture lots of products to help integrate all the different components of your network.
Now, it's really interesting because integration 5-10 years ago was like, oh, it hurts my head, and this doesn't work with this, and I need a graphic user interface. And it was very difficult, and only very specialized people could do it. And now I'm hearing a manufacturer that's specializing in that. You didn't hear about that 10 years ago. How long have you been around?
We've been around 25 years.
25
30
years?
years?
Interesting.
30 years, actually.
Yes, but it took
Since
this long.
1987.
Yeah, it took this long to get up to this point where the security people get that they have to merge all these things together, right?
That's exactly right.
So tell us what you guys manufacture specifically that makes all this stuff happen for networks.
We're probably most famous for our media converters, which help to connect products that are using different types of media, like copper to fiber.
Oh, yes. We had that problem at the studios.
Yes.
Right.
So that's probably what we're most famous for.
Okay.
We also have a very broad line of switch products and many, many products that integrate PoE or power over Ethernet.
Okay. Fascinating. Now, Dennis, I remember at Fox I had my analog tapes, right, tape decks, and we wanted to go digital. But I had wired the whole building with good old-fashioned, wires, and the fiber had to connect to the wire, part, and that was something we did, and that's probably something you guys participated in, right? But I just read a couple years ago that in 2015 or something, analog was still the number one selling camera, not digital, and it just switched a year or two ago. What are you finding in your manufacturing? Are you still manufacturing old-fashioned analog connectors and stuff? That's so popular?
Most of the stuff is now digital, so
okay.
So we have most of our switching capacity and our media conversion on the PoE side for copper to fiber type connections. But
okay.
There are still people that are using some of the old infrastructure that's still in place.
Right.
So instead of they're replacing cameras and other types of devices, but they're not changing the infrastructure. So they might have just regular Cat5 or Cat6 in place. They might have coax in place that's still there from the analog type camera setups. So we do have conversion that also for that allows them to use the actual current infrastructure, but put on IP cameras for that.
How's the quality on that? Is it noticeable? Look about the same?
It's still very good. Our converters do 1 gigabit speed.
Oh.
Some of them only do 10-100. Ours do a gig. So it gives you good quality over that same infrastructure.
Who are your clients? I mean, type of clients. Is it government? Is it private corporations? What is it?
All of the above.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering who's not keeping up with
our vertical markets are all our government, education. They're actually utilities, schools, enterprise customers, telcos. So we really are in a wide area of the marketplace itself.
Now, when you're out in the field and you're doing these conversions and seeing this kind of stuff, is that because people are not saying, you know what, let's just go all digital? Are they trying to save money? They don't understand the technology. What is the... It's great for you guys, right? Stay in business for that, obviously. But there's a lot of analog stuff it's a long time before they're going to convert fully.
Here's the situation. Sometimes you can't go into the building and change any of the infrastructure because of the materials it was built from.
Interesting.
Because it's historical.
Yep.
You're not allowed to touch that. So you have to use that infrastructure.
Okay.
Other example of that is we do a lot of elevator cameras. Elevators don't have Cat5 in or coax.
No.
Or all they have is 2 wires. So we actually have 2-wire converters to provide the camera's power and that type of thing.
Oh, that's fascinating.
So we're building that infrastructure support because of those situations where I can't change the infrastructure that's already there.
Now, besides the clientele, when you go to your clients, what are they worried about when they bring you on board? Are they worried about it not working, worried about cost? What's their driver to get you guys in there? Is it, you know what, I finally have to do it, or are they trying to keep up with the technology and say I should do it?
I think in a lot of times it always comes down to cost. But again, like Dennis mentioned, a lot of times they can't replace the existing cabling, and so they need to work with what they've got there, and that's an ideal situation for us to come in and help them out.
We're really helping the integrators actually do the installations of the equipment because we provide them extra features in our equipment that gives them some diagnostics and management capability.
Oh, okay.
That's really the key that's changing today.
Yeah.
Is that when the customer used to go out and buy a security system. They used to go say, oh yeah, I want these cameras, and they look at all the access control and the switch was the last thing they worried about.
Oh, interesting.
They could care less about it.
Yeah.
But the idea was we made a smart switch for security, which allows you now to do troubleshooting and diagnostics and management of those devices because the intelligence is built into the switch.
Now, does the memory reside on the switch, or is it get copied up to the cloud at the same time? Or I'm trying to think, if a system goes down, and we used to have switches at the door that would save some of the data there in case your network went down or something like that. How are they smart?
It's still pushed out to a VMS system where they are going to do the storage of the cameras and that kind of thing. So we really just the relay to that. But the idea is we built some extra features in our switches that, like, for example, we do cable diagnostics. So we actually check all the pairs in the physical cable to make sure that they're actually operational and they're pinned properly, which is a big asset for the installers. Yeah,
back in the day, you had to do that all manual and once a year, and you didn't know if a camera was working or not working. That's fantastic. How do you do that? If it's an analog type copper wire thing, how do those two merge to create the smart switch?
Well, what happened was the software in the switch actually gives you those capabilities of doing the diagnostics or management. So now we allow the actual customer or the integrator to go out and actually get right into the camera's menu, log in directly to the camera.
Wow, that's fantastic. Now, are you one of the few people in the space that does this?
Really are, yeah. This is kind of new technology that we put out. And then we also do something, we have a feature called Auto Power Reset. What that actually does is it actually pings the camera, and if it doesn't respond to us, we reboot it automatically. That way the customer doesn't have to roll a truck, which costs them additional OpEx money to do that.
Now, when you say you reboot it, are you meaning the switch does and the user of the switch, or do you have monitoring capabilities at your headquarters and stuff?
It's actually proactive monitoring in the switch itself.
Okay. So I'm the user. I buy your switch.
The intelligence to do that.
How easy is it to use? Can a guard use it? Because that's where we need to get those guards on the network and start using this stuff.
It's a GUI interface that you point and click on. So
excellent.
It's pretty easy.
Well, it's fantastic. So transition.com is the website, but it's Transition Networks, right?
Yep.
And what's your booth?
1221.
1221. So go see transition.com. This is really cool. One of the, I guess, the few people in the space that does this. So if you got some analog stuff you want to convert it over to digital and put those two things together, you need to see these guys. We'll be back in a few minutes here on SecurityGuideTV.com at I almost said it, Sean, ASIS 2017 in Dallas, Texas. Thanks for coming on the show. I appreciate it. Very good. Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot.